Hi, I'm Jessica Rhodes, and I'm fixing up this old house in upstate New York, but I also have a lot of creative hobbies that I love to talk about, so I wanted to start this channel so that I could talk about all of my projects, big and small, whether it's something like making a beaded bookmark or it's fixing up a whole room in our house. Today I want to talk about journaling. I've been journaling in different forms for years, but I didn't realize that it was journaling per se. I didn't really conceptualize it that way. I've always known that writing things down helps my brain, helps me organize my thoughts, but I would write things down on random pieces of paper, in little notepads here and there, in notebooks that I would misplace, and I would kind of just have things written down everywhere. Then a couple years ago, I went as far as to create journals for different subjects. That worked for a little while, but then I would misplace the journals because they were all separate. Then I happened to go down the rabbit hole of leather trifold journals like Louise Carmen or Paper Republic, and it was a new idea for me that you could have a lot of different journals for different subjects, but you could keep them all together in this really aesthetic package. And I think like the combination of aesthetics and functionality is always something that I really zero in on. I started watching a lot of journaling videos, a lot of DIY videos on how to make these journals myself. And then that kind of introduced me to journaling as a practice or a habit rather than just something I would randomly do when I was overwhelmed. It was something that I would do every day that would help me keep my mind organized and my thoughts organized. Like it was something that I would check in on every day, just like I check in on, oh, did I do a workout today? Or did I do my skincare today? First, I made this A5 size notebook here, like a beautiful sage green. I bought the leather from LEATHERBOX, and it's a vegetable tanned leather, which it seems like most people that DIY these use the vegetable tanned leather because it can patina over time. It's not perfect because it was DIY and I didn't use a template because I just love to dive into things and figure them out myself. And I wanted it a little bit different than some of the templates because I wanted like a bigger fold over. I didn't want it to be like only overlapping a little bit, and you can see this overlaps quite a bit here, and I wanted it more like that. So that's why I did my own instead of using a template, but there are templates out there if you'd like to just have a little less room for error. The only errors that I really notice on mine are the grommets are not centered perfectly in the back, and then if you can see, I did embossing, and it kind of looks like a ransom letter. It almost makes it like more charming to me because I'm like, oh, that was my first time trying it and I just like went into it without thinking and without practicing first. The embossing is definitely the part that has the most room for error, I think. I actually decided to make two trifold journals because I wanted one that I would mostly keep at home and then one that I would bring with me places. So the A5 size is the one I'm gonna leave at home, and it has a reading journal in it, a sketchbook, a commonplace journal, and a traditional like diary where I put thoughts and memories. But today I really want to get into how I made my journal, and I'm gonna make another one. So for my journal I'm gonna bring everywhere. This is kind of counterintuitive, but I'm going to use a B5 size. And the reason for that is that I always use a B5 size planner, and I had already ordered my 2026 planner. So I have this that's gonna go in my big planner that I'll bring everywhere with me. And then I basically stuck to, I did put a small sketchbook in here because one of my goals is just to draw and make art more. And then again, I have a commonplace journal in here. I have a wellness tracker. And then I have my creative projects and content planning journal in there as well. So this is all more like things that I want to work on during my work day, planning and tasks. This is a 5 to 6 ounce leather, so it's definitely thicker than the leather I used for my green journal, which is like 2 to 3 ounces, I believe. This one is oil tanned, not vegetable tanned. A really, really dark, beautiful navy. This one was listed as tooling leather, and this one was listed as harness leather. So now let's get started making this B5 journal. Obviously our leather. It helps if you have the notebooks you're going to put in. I have a variety of measuring tools here. I have a cutting mat. I have a wood block. because you can see I made holes in my cutting mat there. I also have an awl, which can help make holes. A hammer, this is the hole punch. So you need a grommet setting tool and the grommets, 2mm cord, pencil and chalk, depending what works better. You can use either a sharp cutting tool like this Exacto knife or a pair of scissors. I also have this embossing set here, and then I have an egg cup to draw the rounded corners before I cut. First things first, I'm going to cut off enough at the top and bottom that it fits the notebooks. I like to leave just like a 1/4 inch at the top and the bottom. And as you can see, I'm not really sure much needs to be cut off here because I like a big overlap. I'm gonna leave a 1/4 inch there. These long quilting rulers, I use them for every project, I swear. I'll just use a really sharp pencil. And actually, I just remembered that you get a cleaner cut if you mark on the front and you cut there. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna remeasure. The green, I used scissors. Like I said, this is very thick leather. Oh, it's true. When I have this in, I can go like that. Beautiful. Next, I'm going to do the corners. You have to use scissors for this unless you have the cutting tool. Oh. If you just do a continuous cut, like don't stop. And now it's about placing the grommets. Basically, you need to find out where the spines of your books are gonna go. So that's not far enough over. There we go, that's better. So that's where we want the spines to go, because then they will lay down directly from there, and that will go over there. I might scoot this back the tiniest bit, because, you know, I mean, you really have to play with this because this part is permanent. There we go, okay. I'm gonna mark right in the center. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, because then I can measure in from the side and make sure that this line is very straight. Say it's 7. I don't. One and a half. Quite that wide. And okay, now I'm gonna mark where this goes to, so that I know that when it wraps around, I need the center of this for the other grommets. You can also put the grommets for the cord that wraps around the whole notebook here, and then put the grommets here for the cords that hold the notebooks in. But I like it when it's in the center of the back, like the Louise Carmen ones are. So look at that, that's right at 7. So I'm gonna do 3.5, and that is where grommets will go. However many grommets you put in, you can hold double that amount of notebooks, if that makes sense, because the cords go through twice. You'll see. So 1.5 divided by 2 is 3/4. So I'm gonna mark the center. That's where my center grommet will be. Marked 3/8 inch out on either side from that center line, and I'm gonna do another line there. You don't want to measure down too far for where the grommets go, because then you'll have a little bit of a hard time getting your notebooks in. So I think I measured down 1/2 centimeter and then 1.5 centimeters on the last one. Okay, so that 1/2 centimeter is a little close to the edge if I did it like on that side of the line, but I'm gonna do it just like right on that side of the line, and then I'll do the same things up here. So that is where my holes will go. I'm gonna just do little circles so that I don't mess up. Those are my 3 holes there. Those are my 2 holes there. And then again, on the further side of the lines here. Okay. So now it's time to punch in the grommets. This part is really fun. So now you need your wood block, put it underneath where you'll be punching, and you need your hole punching tool, and then you're just gonna punch. Oh, okay. It went through. The holes there. Okay, those ones are all good. And those two. So now you want to take your grommet setting tool, and I've heard that these can break. You want to make sure that it's really straight up and down and that this is in the hole before you hit it with the hammer. But the first thing you're going to do is take your grommets. I'm using silver because I love silver with navy. You're going to take your grommet. You're going to use this tool just to hold it because it's easier, and you're going to put it in from the back, close to. So now all of my grommets are in, and I am going to set them. So you stick this tool through, and then you make sure it's in that little hole there. You want to hit it pretty firmly to make sure this is all the way close. Next, so then you just go through and you do this with all of them. And there we have it. For the cord, I chose a navy blue because I really want the charms that I put on this to stand out and not necessarily the cord. First, you want to take it and go the whole length plus a little bit. Cut that 3 times, same length. We have 2 straps, and they're the same length because this one goes from the inside to the outside and this one goes from the inside to the outside. I did notice that if I did it the other way, I would have one short one and it was just difficult to get a notebook in there. Put it off just a little. Let it kind of pull in on itself the tiniest bit, like not a ton, but because you want these to be nice and tight to hold the notebooks in, and the notebooks are going to make it lay flat anyway. And now I have to do the back string. There we have it, my beautiful dark blue journal. There's the side, there's the back. I'm excited to carry this around. I'm excited to really try to journal all year and see if it helps me just be a more organized, calm person. Thanks for watching.